big day ahead. We're getting ready to present directly to the CTO of El Salvador's Ministry of Public Works and Urban Development. This is part of a national mandate from the president to streamline the country's 262 municipalities down to 44. We've been invited to showcase how our platform can help power that transformation by modernizing the property registry and giving citizens the tools to pay taxes, request construction permits, transfer ownership, and interact directly with their local governments. Let's get started. First, we're going to log in. Remember that when you sign in to our development platform, you select company ID 50. That's entity ID 50. So sign with key, confirm, and okay. And now we're signed in. Go directly to operations. This is what the current state of development looks like in preparation for our pilot for the National Registry transformation in El Salvador. So first we're going to get you a little familiar with what the screen looks like. We got properties in the middle. We got owners on the left, system employees on the left. These are the municipal employees or federal employees. Then on the right we have property files and property NFTs. We've just linked properties to property files and created a property NFT model here, giving you an idea of what it might look like when it's implemented. So first thing we'll do is we'll get properties. When you focus a property, it will load all property files associated with the property. And notice how there are none here. We've only added one so far, and that would be for this guy, Rafael Antonio. So notice how it loads the owner information, and it also focuses on any property files that have been loaded. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add this again. So first step is to choose a file, and we'll select the original house one. Now it's added the file, and here's an exciting thing that we just added. The file ID can be in a human readable form, but in the case of the municipal project, the ID is actually going to be a unique identifier that is compatible with the interplanetary file system format. So we click IPFS hash, which is the IPFS hash and IPFS location when any IPFS node on any IPFS cluster is used. This is the same identifier that will be added to the NFT representing this file. This is an encrypted file. In the actual implementation, we're not going to be encrypting files so that the public can access them and perform the verification steps needed to enhance the reputation and trust of the NFT actually being associated with real documents stored at the municipality. This is a very important concept. The fact that we have encryption is just an excellent added feature for other verticals we might enter into. We've added the house, front of the house, and the next step is to upload it. Successful upload. Reload brings it in again. It's showing it twice because we already added it, and the encryption encrypted it differently. In an unencrypted state, it would not show it twice. It would note that the file already exists in an unencrypted state. But the system thinks it's two files, just with the same description and the same file name, because every time we encrypt, we use a different timestamp. It's very important, but not for our implementation. The encryption will be off. Next step would be to take this file ID and actually create the IPFS node replication of the file, and then create the NFT, which not only contains the location hash stamps associated with files and photos and documents, but also any changes to property data and owner data. reflected as snapshots, each getting separate CIDs in the NFT. There's a bunch we could show you in addition to this, like being able to edit items like this. Right click on any cell and you can edit it in preparation for upload. And then just tap the edit icon and you can see it notes it knows what's been edited, what hasn't been edited. Like in this case, just 2 items have been changed, and so that would upload. If you clicked OK, it would make the change. But we're not going to do that. We're going to set those back to what they were, and that's 176, and this was whatever it was. Right click and click clear, and it brings it back to its original state. There you go. When adding a new property, notice there's 3 select boxes in 3 of the fields, including district, department, municipality. Making a field selectable and choosing the select items and their values is as simple as setting that in the field matcher settings. We'll show you that later. Other elements that are in red are required, while others in blue are not. Obviously this would be a required field, so to change it, to make it required, you just click the property, and we can go down here and we could say, under add, we could say instead of 7 it would be 1, which means it's required. And as you can see here, 1 means must include as non-blank. That's on an add. And on an edit, it should always be included as well. You must always include the primary key when changing data. And the second identifier is not required. The district, the department, the municipality are required, and in the new format for the new municipal format containing only 44 instead of 262 entities where properties can be managed. Similarly, that needs to be required, and here it's required but not here on the edit, and that's okay. That's actually set correctly. What other things should be required? Well, the municipality itself will probably no longer be required, so we'll put that as a 7. And latitude, longitude will probably be required, but not sure yet, so we'll leave all of these as area of the property will probably be required, so make that a 1. Total constructed could be 0 if nothing's constructed. Nevertheless, it should be force entered, so we'll make that a 1. What else? That's it for demonstration purposes, I think. Now, using AI, we can create categories for this, and we'll show you that next. I'm going to save this and bring in the properties again. Go into an add mode, and you'll notice that this is now a required field. So if we try to upload it, it'll say, hey, you got to put in the primary key, which in this case is the property identifier. So try again to upload. It'll say we need the total area of the property, we need the total area constructed, and we need the department and the district. Now, should department be required? Probably, because these aren't going to change. Although the 44 districts are known, in case any of them have the same names, it would be nice to also have the district in there. So we put the district in, we put in, say, 80, total constructed, we put in, say, 800 meters constructed, big house, and now we put in the total area of the property. We could put in as, say, 8,052. Let's make it another number that is more appropriate. Okay, so almost a hectare. Okay, perhaps we can make it an acre. 4,250, an acre of land. And let's see, we try to upload that. If we have all the requirements, we're still missing the department. Did we select it? No, we didn't. So assuming La Libertad Este is in the Department of Cabañas, okay, we should be ready to go. Let's see if we can upload this. Actually, we should give more information, even though it's not required. The name of the owner should be specified, and we could make this as Miguel Test Owner. Okay, so that makes it very clear that this is, we added this as a test. Well, there should never be two fields associated with the name. There should be just one field, and that's it. Then there's no room for error. There's nothing to reconcile. But they have it. Miguel Test Owner. Again, but what if they weren't equal, right? So we need to make that clear, that they shouldn't exist. Area, here's again, look at this. The total area of the property, Segun CNR. So again, what if there's different areas? They don't line up, right? So let's say this says 4251, and this says test owner diff, right? Just to show that it's not good to have two fields representing the same thing. It's a nightmare. Okay, so let's upload this, see if it works. Good, it worked. Now we're going to reload, which is you have to do to make sure you have the accurate data. And this is what it shows. Now, if we unfocus this property, we can find him easily. Now we would have to add the owner information corresponding to him over here. And so what we do is click add over here. Actually, that was the wrong button. Click add here and enter all these things. Now ideally national ID would show up here in the add mode because we just focused a property here. So we're going to create a button that could be called push or onboard or pull, depending on what we're doing. In this case, in the example, what you're about to see is we're going to click copy settings, as you can see we're about to do here, and we're going to add a button that allows you to pull data from the property and bring it into the owner's object. But in this example, you'll see we're doing it wrong because the copy type on the upper left there, copy type is set to 2, which means it thinks that the button is going to push to the property object, and we don't want to do that. So we're going to move ahead to the next portion of the video where we show the copy type as from. Or rather, we'll keep the copy type as 2, but we'll set the button physically located on the property object, pointing to the owner's object. The button location should appear at the top, so we're adding it to the button location. We'll replace the match, we'll save it, and it should appear. There it is. This is the column we're adding. This is the format in El Salvador for ID. So we'll copy this one, make a few changes to it, and we're going to edit. We're going to edit Miguel by going into edit mode. And here is his info. And the ID proprietario is here, so we're going to paste that one, but make some changes to it. There. Give him that identity. Now, upload this. It should just make that one change. And it does just make the one change. The query only is updating this information with this key, and that's fine. It worked. So we reload, and here it is with that ID in there. That's very important. So now when we do push, we gotta go back into add mode here. We do a push, and there it is. Wonderful. Okay, so to beginning, is there an NFT public address? No, there is not yet. And even if there was, this NFT, to be very clear, would be an NFT that represents the owner. For some reason, we might want to do that. Not sure yet, because as we said earlier, if any owner information associated with the property is changed, it would be reflected in the property NFT itself. But we might decide to go another way with that, where the property NFT just points to an owner NFT that would be described here. So then any change to owner data would not change here, only if the owner itself changed hands. So we might decide to do that. Not sure yet whether it's dangerous or not to have an owner associated with a single NFT that never changes in life, right? So unless they went into to the National Registry and changed their owner NFT, that's a different conversation. It's possible we'll do that because it makes more sense for the property NFT. So when there's any little change to an owner, like he changes his mailing address, then it would just affect the property owner NFT itself. It would mean a dynamic addition to the owner NFT, and no change at all would be necessary. No dynamic addition to the property NFT would be necessary, because it would just be an owner snapshot change. And that is probably a more efficient way to go, and that's probably what we will end up doing. Therefore, the property NFT would be now reduced to only two components: files, that is documents and photos, and property snapshots, property data snapshots, where the data includes these 92 data points that will hopefully be reduced to about 30 or 40 data points. It would be and then mail zip would be whatever, mail country would be El Salvador. So we're going to upload this and say okay and reload that data, and there it is. So there's a new owner here. Not all of this is manual. For example, you can add hundreds of properties at once, again if you have the right format, by simply using our file importer here. Choose the file, and here it is. The fields have been auto-matched, auto-recognized from the Excel or the CSV file to correspond to the data model. And if we click merge now, then it would actually add these records directly, all 190 of them, to the object, with merging it with what's already there. It just brought it right in from the Excel file. So, and they were already in there, so there should be nothing that's, yeah, these weren't in there, so it overlapped, right? Those are again poor data that didn't have an identity number, so it just created one. And yeah, so let's clear that out. All right, that's it for the demonstration. Pretty much showing a lot of the features of the system. What we're not showing, and what we'd like to add, is a layout manager, right? Like a layout manager that can show like the total area, for example. So how do we do that? Again, remember we had the edits here, which is really cool. Again, but we're not showing you that now. What we want to do is create a layout manager to show like distributed area for every showing property, for example. How do we do that? We can go into layout manager, which is somewhere here. Maybe that, no. Layout designer settings. And we could go into open layout designer, and we could select the area total of the property, right? That's the variable we want, and we want to make like a distribution, let's say, compare to max and set, let's say. So we want to see where he compares over the whole set, let's say, or a single record sums to 100%. Could do that too. So we don't have enough data for that, so a cluster distribution could be interesting as well. And where he stands in the cluster, that could be interesting. Let's see, set formula, and we go for the distribution. Let's see what that would look like. So the count relative Okay, we added 2 potential distributions, and we just added the identity number. Now we'll add the name. There it is. Cool. Alright, so let's put that here. Make it nice and large. Okay. And put this one up like here. Let's see what that looks like in the preview in the design mode. Nice. Alright, so let's move this up a little. Maybe like here. And this one here. Something like that. And let's make the whole canvas smaller. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, so let's save this. And say, there's so many other things we could see, like a pie chart of representing the owner, representing anything based on the data we have. But this is good for now for a demonstration. So we're going to save this by adding the match. We have to make it active. And the active widget would be, no, we're not going to do that. Just this, the whole thing is active. And save the matcher. Okay. So now when you highlight, there it is. And if we highlight somebody else, there they are. Okay, that's very cool. Alright. So there are various ways to distribute data. There's various widgets corresponding to the type of chart you want. In this case, it's a nonlinear distribution. It's based on the actual data we have. So in category 1, it's like 36 through 60 meters, right? But look at this. In category 8, it's 332 to 435 meters. Category 9 is 400 meters to 800 meters. That's a broad range. But that's because we've equalized the number we happen to have in each category. And we have very few properties here, so it automatically distributes it according to the quantity of data in each cluster. And this is also known as clustering. So this is a cluster chart, and here the range is much greater, over 1,000 meters. And look, Sylvia is in category 9, distributed with equal numbers of people in each category, right? So, and if we go to somebody who has more land, and we click that, look, they're off the charts, actually. So let's click somebody else in category 9. These people in the upper category are actually not off the chart because it's not showing the very last category. Here, category 10 is up to 853 meters. It's not, the last category just is not, it has been omitted. But all the others are there. We can take somebody down on the lowest and view them where they stand with others. And there they are at the lowest quantity of land. Now here, yeah, 36 to 59. So it's just a question of the first and last being changed. Like it's showing 80 with 0. Oh, actually this is correct because there are 80 people for which, again, bad data. We don't actually have the total area. See all these that are empty? Right? So this is entirely uninteresting because the data is just not rich enough. It's not full enough. There hasn't been enough manual entering. And that's exactly what we need. We need perhaps hundreds of people manually entering data. Extra bonus here. I said earlier we'd show you at the end of the video how we can use AI to create categories. What you do for that is you just go into get mode and look at these beautiful categories we had, all created by AI, taking our existing labels and recommending categories, ordering, and structure. And it gives us the impression that each of these data models are like little mini file systems where the contents are not files but rather fields. This organization is achieved by tapping a data model's display name and clicking AI suggested categories. And these might be slightly different each time you try, but usually they're going to be very intuitive. and you can check them out, look at them for yourself, see if you like them, then click Apply Organization and save, and done. So, beautiful categories. Geographical territorial information includes things like the department, the municipality, the district, the zone, the latitude, longitude, altitude, climate. Even like the they have the average temperature and average precipitation in it for the region. So, let's see. Before it was just all over the place. Now it looks nice. Public services and proximity. You could see how close you are to like garbage pickup. Utility providers. You could see like energy, electric, potable water, internet. Do they have it? Yes or no? And different people, different records, of course, have different amounts filled out. Why did we get a 503? System has to be queued to allow more users at the same time. We anticipate allowing hundreds of users at the same time. Thousands, not so sure, but each municipality will have its own server if it's very large, and each nation will have its own server, certainly more as needed. So that's it. This is a beautiful addition that we just put in. And before also we showed you that properties are linked to other objects, and linking is very simple. We didn't show you that earlier, but just clicking link settings, you can see this properties has a child linked to property files on these two labels, and it also has a link to owners on the property, the owner of the owner ID and the national ID. So these are actually, if the source label is the owner, that corresponds to the national ID. It's the same meaning for the field, just with a different name. This just maps one field to another, from one table to another, and that's how linking works.